Welcome back to another episode. Something a little bit different. This is my first ever video podcast. I'm going to start uploading my podcast over to YouTube so that I can expand my audience. And I'm going to change one thing about it. I'm going to be way less polished with my podcast episodes, and I want to be better prepared, but also learn to speak off the cuff and learn to speak from what I have going on in my head right now. While I wanted to start really polished and have something very professional in my mind, I think the longer I've been sharing and trying to connect with people, and the longer I've been paying attention to what I enjoy, the more I really enjoy just simply listening to people speak on a certain topic very insightfully and in depth. And even if it's just like 20 minutes or 30 minutes, just the fact that they have the time to just unpack that. And I don't really mind the ums and ahs. I don't really mind them pausing. And so I think it's going to be the same. I want to apply the same thing, and I want to start doing that for Go Off, because I spent so much time trying to over polish it in the past, and that has always been a barrier for me to create and just to get stuff out there. And I think I'm just going to get over that right now, and I'm going to start doing it with this episode. So hopefully you guys like these sort of formats. You probably won't notice too much of a difference because I have been slowly trying to introduce this for the past few episodes. So yeah, hopefully we'll see how we go. I'm going to cut out some ums and ahs and certain clear mistakes, obviously, because I don't want it to be too distracting for people. But for the most part, I'm just going to leave things in. I'm going to keep it as raw isn't really the word, but less polished is the word. And I'm going to be a bit more casual, and I want to be able to make sure that I can go really in depth and just have a conversation, like just me and the camera, knowing that there is even one person on the other side of this that's going to get a lot of value out. So welcome to a ridiculously long first introduction to my first ever video podcast episode. Hello, YouTube. I'm going to get right into it because I just like it when they just get right into it, eh? So if you don't know me, I'm going to quickly introduce myself. I'm Josh. I've been an international wedding photographer for the past 10 to 12 years. And then I've been a professional wedding photographer for 17 years now. It's a long time. I've been a photographer since before Facebook had pages. So that should sort of tell you my age, but I have been over the past 4 years transitioning into education, mentoring, and then in the past 2 years, I have been a full-time coach, full-time photography business coach to other creative business owners. And it's been such a huge learning curve and a joy at the same time to transition into that. Now I get to empower other photographers and other creative business owners and help them level up in their business. This podcast that you're listening to and watching right now is a small portion of how I can bring immeasurable amount of value through just sharing information, no gatekeeping, just sharing learned lessons, experiences, case studies. I personally like to share things that are more on the proven side of things. So I like to measure, I like to have data, I like to have statistics, and I like to draw on things like psychology, neurology, and just more of the hardcore business factors that I think is very much missing element in this pocket of business coaching and education. Not to downplay anyone else who shares things that they've tried and have found success in and are teaching other people. But I think for me, I want to reach a wider set of audience. I want to help a wider group of people. So in order for me to be able to do that, I need to be able to lean on things that are widely applicable and widely proven to be successful, right? So this is my way of standing out from the crowd. I'm not going to just rely on intuition and just experience alone. I'm going to share things about my experience, but why that worked. And I'm going to share science behind things. I'm going to share psychology. I'm going to share proof that this has worked for many other people, not just me. And so that's where I really want to focus on. So welcome. So today's topic is we're going to talk about the one thing that's more important than your art. Now, it's been such a glorified statement that your art is the most important thing. Like it should all be about your art. While that is true to some degree, and that was true in the past, it is no longer true now. Because artists used to be rare, there weren't that many people who were like that true, pure artists. in the past, it genuinely was about the art. People really appreciated people who were artists because it wasn't common. It wasn't a traditional line of work. It wasn't something that people chose to do to make a living out of. And if they did, then there was a very, very slim chance they would ever make any decent living out of it. It was in fact glorified to be a starving artist back in the day because it was just how things were. People didn't want to, quote unquote, sell out to make art, to make money, but they wanted to make it about art. Now, times have changed quite drastically. Now, everyone has infinitely more information that they have access to and infinitely more inspiration of other people who are making a living with their art. So when you are now suddenly seeing so many people on your screens, on your phones, and you are meeting so many people who are making a full-time income, 6-7-figure income from their art, now it's becoming a viable solution for so many people to pursue being an artist, a full-time artist, and making money with their art, a viable option. Now less and less people are frowning upon it. Now less parents are freaking out about the fact that, you're not going to go pursue a traditional, avenue of, studying and, getting accreditation or anything like that. Generally some people still are, but mostly like people understand that this is now becoming a thing. And so now it's not just about the art. It's now becoming about, now there's heaps more artists out there or creators or creative people out there who are trying to make money with their creativity. So now it's a game of not just who's going to make the best art, but who's going to be able to showcase their art to more people and to win over more people to their art, right? This is a really big transition that's happened where people aren't just relying on looking at your work and seeing that it's, technically a beautiful masterpiece or whatever it is. People are actually looking to people being more relatable. They want access to who the creator is. This is why influencers became a thing. This is why now this day and age is called the creator economy. People who are able to create and able to share that journey and let other people in. And so it's kind of now shifted to not being about the art. The art is a vessel. It's kind of like a touch point, but it's not really about the idea of you being a starving artist has now been truly phased out. Now artists are making more money than regular people like doctors and lawyers would in the previously traditionally glorified jobs. It really was because those people were making a lot of money. It was culturally seen as a very respected avenue of a career path to choose. So if you were a lawyer, if you were a doctor, you were more respected just generally and socially. People wanted to date you more. People wanted to actually marry you because economically it was much more of a stable option. And now that's just changed. Now people who are, as young as like 6-year-olds are on YouTube making millions of dollars. Granted that they are still the exception, but now that people know that it's possible, more and more people are willing to give it a go and willing to try. So in comes an influx of people from all over the world who have a phone, who have an idea. And there are many, many more softwares now that allow you to sell things like courses and guides and just digital assets, things that you just created on Canva and things like that. And Canva itself is another software that's made creativity much more accessible. So now that all this stuff has become easier to access and more people are entering the market, it's becoming less and less about the art itself. Now it's becoming more about, and now we're transitioning away from it. So what is now more important than art? Well, right now, what's more important than art is the artist. The artist is more important. You can look at anywhere in the world, whoever's work is most admired. You can look at things like Picasso. Picasso is more famous than his art. Like Leonardo da Vinci is more famous than his inventions. Jane Austen is more famous than the novels that she wrote. And it's really an interesting study case because people always thought it was about the art. That's what made them famous. But it's actually the story behind the artist, who the artist is, that enriched the art itself and made the art valuable to millions of people. Beyonce is more famous than her music. Same as Adele, same as Taylor Swift, same as Drake, Kendrick Lamar, Kanye, like these people, the artists themselves are way more important than the art. So now people are playing a different set of game. They're no longer playing quality of art. Who is the best artist? Who has a better technical ability? Who has the most refined abilities with their art? Who can make something the most polished? It's less about that, and it's more about who are the people, who is able to market their art, who's able to showcase their story as an artist and connect to more and more people. YouTube obviously has been a really big driving factor. People have been able to see behind the scenes of everyone's lives, just the day-to-day. People have been able to see how others have gone from just your everyday person to launching a brand. And they're so into it because they're into who the artist is, the creator. What makes your art, what you create, so let's say you are a photographer, what makes your photography much more valuable and much more popular isn't the fact that your photography is great. Because technically speaking, there are so many incredible photographers out there, but I bet you really haven't heard of most of them. But you have heard of photographers that you probably deem as not as skilled or not as impressive, and yet they seem to be everywhere. People seem to be talking about them, sharing their work, buying their presets. And it's because these people have entered the market, have learned the basics of photography to the point where they're good enough to be paid for, they're good enough to be professional, but they're also young enough and clued into enough that they market their work better. They show up for their audience, they share more about themselves, whereas traditionally, like, your hardcore photographers would never put their face online, never share personal things about, themselves. Why would they? It's about the art. The economy has changed. How you market has changed. And so now people are putting much more value on the art when they know the artist. It's not about the art, it's now about the artist, who the person is, their journey, their story, and how do people connect to them? How much do people love them as the artist? What helps you market your art? Interesting thing is, now that marketing is a big play into whether your art becomes well known and well loved and well purchased, what makes you being able to market your art is your business. And this is where I come in, because I have been both a traditional photographer who has gone the traditional route, but I've been able to share more intuitively about who I am as a person over the years. And funnily enough, I kind of just low-key have been building my own personal brand without me realizing that that's what I was doing until maybe like 5 years ago. 5 years ago, I had someone literally walk up to me and say, "Are you Josh J? I've seen you around. I've seen your face. I love your work. Like, I've been telling everyone to go work with you." And it was a really jarring experience because I was like, who are you? And like the fact that some stranger walked up to me in a cafe while I was just sort of eating and reading over my emails was just crazy. The fact that people were telling me that they recognized me was crazy. But now that I look back on it, it's not so crazy because I would put the camera up to my face and I would talk, I would share, I would show snippets of behind the scenes of what was happening at weddings, I would show snippets of me interacting with my couples. And so obviously people see my face, and obviously people get to know my personality, people get to hear how I talk, and that's the kind of stuff that people really need to start building a relationship with you and building this sort of framework in their own mind of who you are. And it was a bit of a jarring experience, but again, it was an experience that woke me up and made me realize, holy crap, me doing something on the internet is actually like people are looking at it and people recognize who I am, and that has value, that has meaning to them, like enough so that they're going to go recommend me to other people. It's such a funny thing, but that's where I really realized that, it's not just about my photos. Like, my photos is fine. It's good enough that people are willing to recommend me for my photos, but really people recommend me because they feel like they know me, right? They feel like they're bought into who I am as a person, or at least the version of me that I put online. And it's just a really big shift that are now people who are entering the market, or people who have been doing this for a while, really just struggling to market, struggling to understand and get their head around the idea of having to brand themselves. And a lot of photographers use their own name for their own business, so obviously their name is on the door, and I see a lot of them just not share a single thing about who they are. I scroll through their feed, there isn't a single photo of them. I go to their website and they've got like maybe the most basic bio set up, and it doesn't give you anything. And it's kind of sad because I really want photographers to be able to have more opportunity to do more of what they want to do, which is to take more photos, to connect with more people, and have opportunities to create. And now people get to do that by marketing their art, by marketing themselves as the artist. And it's really where I come in, because I'm there to help people realize that this is how the economy works now. And if you don't know how to do the branding part, if you don't know how to do the marketing part, then I'm here to help teach people that. Lo and behold, most people don't really understand how marketing actually works. And lo and behold, people always try and fall back on their photography being good enough that people should come and want to work with them. It's just not how it works. And it will never go back to that. We are just in a completely new age where like everyone just has so much access to information. Everyone has so much access to each other. And more people are able to enter the market of creating what took people years and years and years of pursuit and trial and error to be able to do well enough to start getting paid for it, is now readily available for someone to learn within less than 20 hours by paying like $400, $200, or just simply by just going and watching free tutorials on YouTube, because there is actually so much information there that could take you from an absolute beginner to an absolute pro without having paid for anything. And so it's just kind of interesting now that it's not just about the art, because the art is just like given. It's like, oh yeah, everyone knows how to take photos because there is so much information out there on being able to take photos well. But do everyone know how to market? Do people know how to win people over? Do people know how to brand themselves and show up and be the kind of personality that other people want to follow along to and want to work with? Those are the skills that are called soft skills. Soft skills are much more harder to measure and see, but they're absolutely the glue that binds everything else together. You've got things like hard skills, like your learned skills, right? Because it's literally easily transferable. Like, this is what I do, you do the same. Okay, now you can do it too. That's a hard skill. Soft skill, things like people skills, communication skills, marketing skills, like psychology, involving that into branding and being more cluey into how people tick. These are soft skills. These are not things you can just immediately transfer over to someone and for them to copy and be like, okay, I've downloaded it, now I can do it. These are things people need to genuinely develop by doing it over and over and over again. So soft skills have become the new art. Photography used to be that. You had to go and figure it out. You had to go and trial and error and just love photography so much that you were willing to do it for so many years to get good enough to start working. Now that is easily transferable, but now everyone else is trying to understand things like marketing, human psychology, human behavior, personal branding, and just understanding how communication, like language, all these things kind of work together to help them be able to market their art more. And so your business is what will allow you to market your art. Your business is what's going to allow your art to be visible to as many people as possible and make it as desirable as possible. And this is my next point. For that reason, your art has not become the most important thing anymore. It used to be, but it's not. Now your business is more important than your art. I'm not saying your art isn't important. I'm just saying it is now less important when it comes to being able to succeed as an artist and being able to actually earn a livable wage or an income, all those things. So your business is now much more important, and skills in business and learning how to do business well and better is now a much more valuable skill to have above the skills that you've had to learn, to produce the art that you have, whether you're a graphic designer, videographer, photographer, stylist, whatever it is. And this is the shift that I'm trying to teach people. Like, and people get it. Like, yeah, I need to learn how to do business, but you'll be so amazed at how many photographers or how many creators that I coach are just sort of like, they get it, but they can't be bothered. They get it, but they don't really apply. They know about business, they hear about it, people talk about it online, but they don't actually go in and apply it to their business. They don't go and figure it out how it's going to work for them. They just sort of know that it's a thing, but most people just don't have either the confidence or they don't have the courage to actually go and start applying it for themselves. Your business is more important than your art. I'm saying it right now, and you could argue with me all you want. I have 17 years plus of experience of being the older artist and the new artist, and having taught this to so many people to be able to prove to you that your business is more important than your art. Art is so easily accessible right now. Business isn't so as much so, and a good business is even less so. People are still starting businesses much easier, but people are also closing their businesses much quicker than before too. More people entering the market means more ratios of failures. And so, yeah, it's just kind of this thing where people enter, they want to do what they do, they try their best, but because they haven't learned how to upskill themselves in business, they eventually get to a roadblock and sometimes they fail. The roadblock really takes them out. All right, so now that we've established that your business is more important than your art, now where do you sit as the artist? Because I think you as the artist is more important than your business, of course. I've highlighted previously that Beyonce is much more popular than her music. Same with Jay-Z, same with any other artists that are famous in the world. The person, the artist, who they are, their story is much more attractive and much more relatable than their art. Have you ever listened to like a song that you just didn't know who it was, but you really liked the song, and so you listen to it over and over again, and then you get to a point where you go, oh, we really want to know about who this artist is because I really resonate with their music. And so you go and maybe look them up on YouTube, look up some interview of them sharing about how they wrote that music, that particular song that you were listening to, or they share their journey about how they became an artist. And afterwards, you find yourself being so much more appreciative of that song or that artist, right? After you hear the backstory of a certain song, after you hear how this art came to be and what kind of experiences the artist had to go through in life to be able to produce that music, for some reason, just learning and hearing about that makes that art so much more valuable to you. Now you listen to that music with a completely different set of, quote unquote eyes. Now you can see it in a different way because now the artist has highlighted the true value of what that art is. And so in that way, artists are more important than the art. The art itself is not more important than the artist. And this is where I think a lot of the old school people got it wrong. It's they just wanted people to look at the art. They don't want people to look at themselves. They were not part of the art. They were not on exhibition. They were not showcasing themselves. They wanted people to look at just their art. Just look at the art that I'm making. That's all I want. And it's, to a degree still true to this day. A lot of artists, specifically like musicians, like to kind of hide behind the art they create. And they like to say, hey, this is all I need to say. This is all I need to say about my experience, my life. This is all I can say because this is how I know how I can communicate what happened to me or what I think, what I feel. So I just want you to listen to this, and whatever your interpretation is, that is what it is. And that in itself kind of creates this allure about the artist, funnily enough, because people are now more curious about what they're really trying to say. And Taylor Swift has really excelled at learning how to use this to just drive her brand and her music to just the stratosphere, because people are constantly watching her life and trying to analyze everything that she's saying in her music and everything that she's showing in her music video like a hawk. They're just breaking it all down, and they're relating to things that happened in Taylor's life. Because Taylor chose to say, I'm not going to share about this more than, unless it's through my music. And so now people are going crazy over the artist because now there's so much more buzz and hype around speculations, rumors, and people are now hyper focused on Taylor's life. They're trying to build some sort of a picture about what Taylor went through in her previous relationships. So the art is an avenue for people to get to understand the artist more. It is not the end point. You don't stop at the art. The art is a window to who the artist is, and people are so much more hungry and curious about the artist. And they're using the art as a way to be able to see who the artist is. Artist is more important than the art. Business is more important than the art. And so I really want to highlight the 3 hierarchies that I think is going to be the new driving force. Art is at the very bottom of this. Business comes second. Artist comes on top. Who you are as the artist matters infinitely more than the businesses that you start and run. But your business is so much more important than your art that you create, because it doesn't matter if you create the art, if you don't have a vessel like a business to be able to take that art and market it, to showcase it to lots of people on the internet, there is no way that you'll be able to attract enough people to want to work with you, who want to hire you, who are talking about your art. More important than your business is your artist, because your artist is who you are. At the core, it's your experience. No one can replicate who you are as an artist. There will only ever be one of you. You can go and create many other businesses and create many other avenues to explore marketing and selling different types of art, but you only have yourself. There is only one of you. You are the most important factor in this whole situation. And so this is where personal branding comes in. And this is where marketing and understanding how to market yourself and brand yourself is going to be the number one skill that people will have to learn in order to get ahead. Before, it used to be how to become the best artist. The number one skill was become the best at the art. 5 years ago, the number one skill had started shifting to who can market the best, who can be online, who can sell themselves the best, who can get the most amount of exposure, who can get the most amount of people to buy into what they were doing. But now, personal branding, learning how to brand yourself, is now becoming the best. That's the best skill that you could ever have in your life, because to build a personal brand is to build your own reputation. And your reputation compounds for life. It is an ongoing thing that you're continuously building the longer you live, the more that you do. This is where I think people are struggling right now. Marketing is easily accessible. Now there's so much resources out there on how to market. You can buy courses, you can access other people who are more experienced than you in marketing, and it's much more accessible. Learning how to brand yourself is a lot harder, because it takes more than just skills. It takes more than just putting together the right kind of words and right set of images. It takes more than just running the right sort of ads on Facebook. Branding and creating a brand is just such a long-term, big picture game that so many people fail to do it well and to do it consistently. The artist is so much more important than the art, and whoever gets to win at being the artist, meaning the brand, building the reputation, they're the ones that are going to win. This is why singular personalities, people like Joe Rogan, Kanye West, even Donald Trump, he is such a great example of brand. Like, he has a brand. Whether you hate him or love him, he has a brand. And whatever he does, Trump, his name means something to some people and means something to a lot of other people. There is such a premium on that right now. And I think it's just so funny that people like Donald Trump can do it well, but there are people who are so skilled genuinely so skilled in what they do, that I think you're just not really good at doing the rest of the things. And that's what's keeping you from sharing your art with the world and being able to service as many people as you want to. And it's a shame. Really, that is the reality. Did I put on Threads? No, I put on my Instagram Reels, just like writing a screenshot of my ex post. And I put that on and I said, in an ideal world, the photographer with the best skill will be the highest paid and the most popular. But in the real world, the photographer who's able to market and brand themselves and bring value to the art that they make are the ones that are going to be the most popular and successful. And so I want to leave you guys with this. Whether you believe that it should be about the art or not, that is just not where the world is right now. And you could fight that all you want. By all means, go for it. I would love a bit of a revolution on this. But in the real world currently, right now, the artist is so much more valuable than the art, and business is much more valuable than the art. Art is literally the least important thing right now. And again, maybe that makes you sad, or maybe that just makes something click for you in your struggles with trying to, get your business to go off. Whatever it is, that's just where we are at the reality. And I'm here to point out the realities, and I'm here to help you connect where you are now into where you want to get to, how I can help break things down and work on things with you so then you can get to where you want to get to in the reality, in the real world, not in an ideal world. So I hope that made sense. And just a little bit on marketing itself, because people seem to be confused about what marketing actually is. Marketing is, if you want to look at it this way, if you are the artist, you have a certain amount of story. You have your own unique experience. You have your own reasons for why you're doing what you do. You look at marketing as an avenue to tell that story. So marketing is just another form of storytelling. But it's not storytelling about your business, but it's storytelling about who you are as the artist. And so in that way, people get to connect to the artist and they get to see your work, and they connect with your work because they connect with you. If people get to know you more, your art becomes more valuable to them. It's just how it is. The more that you get to share about your story, your life, your experiences, your passions, your unique position, and your take on things. Like if you are a bit weird and kooky, share that. And people will be able to look at your art differently. And there's something unique about that they'll be able to notice. We love out there creators, right? We love people who are doing things differently, and we get to know their quirky personalities. And it just makes us appreciate their art so much more. If you watch back at really out there and quirky YouTube creators, and then you start watching their YouTube videos, it just has a different shape and form to you. At least for me, that's how it is. It's more meaningful for me when I get to know who the creator is. And in the same way, your clients, your audiences, your dream clients, whoever you want to label, your ideal clients, those people that you really want to work with and you really want to draw into your own sphere so then you can get to work with them so then they can pay you money. Those people are waiting around to hear about you more, to connect with you more as the artist. And so marketing is just simply a form of you sharing about who you are. So if you look at it that way, it really just comes down to how often are you communicating who you are in your story? How often are you infusing your own experiences and your own take on things when you share your work online? For me, it was wedding photography. So I used to always inject my own take on weddings and my own take on situations when I would write captions, and it would really resonate with so many people. I don't have a very clear cookie cutter view of an idealistic view of love. I understand love is very complex and it's very complicated. And I know that not everyone's story that they end up with once they get to the altar and when they say I do is just all squeaky clean and fun and fairy tale, right? It's not a Disney movie. I understand love to be hard and painful, and sometimes it really creates a lot of work for the individual and challenges, and even there's just heartbreak. People sometimes experience heartbreak in order to find their true love, their true happy ending. They grow through it, and that heartbreak plays a big part into it. And so I think it's just there's so much complexity around just people's stories, and people only ever want to look at the happy endings, I guess, the happily ever afters. But for me, I've always wanted to explore things like, what do they struggle with? What did it take for them to get to here to say, I do? What did they have to overcome? Right? Do they have to overcome things within themselves? Do they have to overcome their own struggles as a couple? Do they have to overcome a certain amount of adversities? Like I've had stories of couples who've overcame things like cancer and losing all their closest family in tragic accidents, and, people, their previous partners cheating on them, or, whatever it is, like that, one of them was never wanted, was never looked at, was never considered to be a partner until this person came and saw the true beauty in this person. All these kind of stories that you go, oh man, it makes you feel like love is so worth it. And that to me paints such a more valuable picture around wedding photography and the story that people have on their wedding day than just I saw them across the room and it was happily ever after. And those stories are there. I know that they're there because I've photographed those couples as well, and it's beautiful in its own way. But what's made me kind of like really fire up as a photographer or as an artist, which I really never call myself, I've always just lean towards people who's had a bit of that complexity and a challenging love story. And when I share that and when I highlight that, I don't know, I just get so many people in the comments or DMs just telling me how beautiful they think my work is, just how much they feel through my work, and just how special it is to be able to, follow along and kind of read these stories and snippets of the people that I get to work with. That's telling me that they really value my take on things, my unique view. And in that way, I stand out from other people. And also, people are bought into who I am as an artist way more. And so now people want to work with me for me, because only I am able to provide that unique set of experience and emotions for them when they look at wedding photos. The people who want that kind of story to be told about them because they feel like they've had a unique journey, or they've had a complex journey, or they've had a heartbreak or tragedy, or they know that their love wasn't really easy, but they're finally here and they feel like they're about to start something amazing together. They will come to me because they know I'm the artist who will be able to turn their story into art. So I'm prioritized. And so if you can share more about who you are, your story, your unique point of view, just do it. Do it as many times as possible. Do it as often as possible. Find a way to integrate that into your art that you share, because I guarantee you, people will start coming to you for you. People will start connecting with you and your work so much more than they ever did before. And that is powerful marketing, and because that involves storytelling. And who doesn't love a good story? Storytelling is everything. So that's it for my first podcast on YouTube. Bit of a ramble, a little bit of a tangent, but all in all, I think I've made my point very clear on it. And I'm so appreciative of my journey, and I'm excited to be able to fumble through this and grow through this with you guys and the potential use in the future. That didn't make sense, but you get what I mean. But hey, if you want to follow along and you are sort of somewhat inspired by my musings and ramblings, you can find me at joshj.co. That's my business and coaching page. And then on there, you'll be able to find my photography page account as well. If you loved it, just shoot me a little like. And if you're interested in following along and keeping up to date with future podcast episodes, then subscribe. It's the best way to stay in touch, and I'd love to have you on as a subscriber. Also, I'd love to continue bringing you value and insights and experiences to help your business go off as a creative entrepreneur. Awesome. Well, that's it for me, and I'll catch you guys in the next episode.